Okay, so you ready to talk about the future? Because today we're diving into this vision of the future that's like seriously radical, but also kind of feels familiar, you know?
Familiar how?
It's like imagine trying to explain, I don't know, the internet to someone straight out of the 1800s.
Right, like they wouldn't even have the framework to get it.
Exactly. And the mind-blowing part, the person painting this future is Dario Amodei,
Oh, wow, the CEO of Anthropic. Didn't he used to work on AI safety at Google?
the one and only. Now he's all about embracing the positive potential of really powerful AI, and not in some distant future, but like within the next 10 years.
See, now that's interesting. Amodei's known for really emphasizing the risks of AI. This is a different angle.
Totally. In his essay, Machines of Loving Grace, he kind of flips the script. It's all about what good AI could bring to the table, which we definitely need to be talking about more.
Absolutely. We need that positive vision, especially with all the doom and gloom surrounding AI these days.
100%. But before we get too far, when Amodei says powerful AI, what's he even talking about?
Yeah, it's not just like your friendly neighborhood chatbot. He's talking about a whole different level, something he calls a country of geniuses in a data center.
A country of geniuses. Okay, so like, what does that even mean?
He's talking about AI that's not just smarter than us, but smarter than the smartest people in the world across every field. Think Nobel Prize winners on steroids.
Okay, now as a visual, millions of digital Einsteins working 2047. So how would that even work in the real world, you know?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Amodei talks about this concept of marginal returns to intelligence. Basically saying that even if you have all this brain power, it's not like, oh, magic wand, you know?
So it's not like AI just waves a magic wand and suddenly we're living in a utopia.
Not quite. Amodei says intelligence has its limits, right? Even geniuses have to wait for experiments to run, data to be collected, even cells to divide.
Right, like even with a million chefs, you're still kind of limited by how fast the bread rises.
Exactly. It's like the laws of physics and biology still apply. So even super intelligent AI will be operating within those constraints.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here, but where does that leave us?
Well, that's where Amodei throws out this idea of a compressed 21st century. Imagine cramming a century's worth of progress into the next decade.
Hold on, a compressed century. Now that's a bold claim. Like what would that even look like, practically speaking?
He's talking about things like a world without cancer, without Alzheimer's, without, get this, the common cold.
All right, now you're talking my language. But how does he see AI actually making that happen?
So Amodei's not just thinking AI crunching numbers in a lab, right? He's saying it could be designing experiments, connecting the dots between research papers, basically doing the work of a super-powered scientist.
Oh, so it's like giving our best researchers a turbo boost. So it's less about AI replacing scientists and more about like supercharging their abilities.
Exactly. He uses examples like CRISPR and mRNA vaccines, technologies that could have been around way sooner with this kind of AI collaboration.
It's like giving a team of Olympic sprinters, like rocket boots or something. But even if we're talking about advancements in the lab, how long would it take for those discoveries to actually help people in the real world?
Well, Amodei thinks AI could help us go from decades to just a few years to develop new drugs and therapies. Think clinical trials designed and analyzed in real time, treatments tailored to your specific DNA.
Wow, so personalized medicine on a whole other level. But even then, some of these diseases have baffled scientists for centuries. Is Amodei really suggesting we could see cures within the next decade?
He's not ruling it out. He even suggests that with AI's help, we could see human lifespans double within a generation.
Wait, double? So we could be talking about living well past 100.
Potentially, yeah. It's a lot to process, I know. And it's just the tip of the iceberg of what Amodei thinks is possible. He believes AI could change our understanding of the human brain even more radically than it changes our bodies.
Okay, now you've got my attention. What's he saying about AI and the future of our brains?
He thinks AI could help us unravel the mysteries of the brain, leading to incredible breakthroughs in how we diagnose and treat mental health conditions.
So we're not just talking about physical health here.
No way, it goes way deeper than that. He thinks AI could even change how we understand and experience our own emotions and thoughts.
Okay, that is mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah.
But how would that actually work in practice? What are some examples of what Amodei envisions?
He suggests that within the next decade, AI could be essential in developing treatments for, a whole range of mental health challenges. Things like depression, anxiety, even schizophrenia and addiction.
Wow, conditions that have impacted humanity for centuries solved within the decade. That's a huge statement.
It is a big claim, yeah. And Amodei doesn't stop there. He thinks AI's ability to decode the brain could eventually let us address really complex brain differences, essentially rewiring the brain to target the root causes of mental health issues.
Okay, now this is starting to sound like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Right. But Amodei seems to believe it's within the realm of possibility. He says AI might not only treat mental health conditions, but prevent them entirely.
Prevent them entirely.
How? Through really advanced genetic screening and early intervention. Imagine a future where those conditions are just gone.
That's wild. But it also begs the question, if we can achieve all this, what happens to our understanding of what it means to be human?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's something we'll dive into in part 2 of this deep dive.
Can't wait to unpack that. But for now, we've got to take a quick break. So we've talked about AI potentially revolutionizing healthcare, even like reshaping our brains. But it's the what happens to us part that really makes me think.
Yeah, it's the big question, isn't it? Like, if AI can do everything better, faster, stronger, where do we fit in?
Exactly. What's left for humans to do? Does it even mean anything to be human in that kind of world?
It's a question that worries a lot of people, but Amodei, he has a really interesting take on this. He says, we tend to link our sense of purpose to our jobs, to how productive we are. But what if that's not the only way to find meaning?
Okay, so like, just because AI can do a task better, does that mean it's suddenly meaningless for us to do it?
Right. Take your vintage record player, for example. It's not the most efficient way to listen to music.
Tell me about it. And I still love it. It's about something more than just efficiency.
Exactly. That's what Amodei is getting at. He says, even in an AI-driven world, we'll find fulfillment in our passions, in learning new skills, in connecting with each other. These are human experiences that even the most advanced AI can't replicate.
Okay, I can get on board with that. But let's be real. Passion doesn't exactly pay the rent. What happens when AI can do our jobs, all of them, better and cheaper than us?
Yeah, the economic side of this is huge. Amodei admits that the transition to an AI-driven economy is going to be rocky. We might see new jobs emerge, things like AI training or collaborating with AI on creative projects.
So jobs that require those uniquely human skills that AI can't quite replicate yet.
Right. But he also thinks that long-term, we might need to completely rethink our economic systems.
Okay, now we're getting into some uncharted territory. What would that even look like?
He throws out some really radical ideas like universal basic income, where everyone gets a guaranteed income whether they work or not. He even talks about AI managing resources and making sure everyone has what they need.
Wow, so a world where work becomes more about personal fulfillment than economic necessity? It almost sounds too good to be true. But what about the potential for misuse? We can't just ignore that. Couldn't this technology be used to concentrate power or even to harm people?
Absolutely. Those are real concerns. Amodi's not naive to the risks. He constantly stresses that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. He says it's our responsibility to make sure it's used ethically.
That's where his idea of an entente strategy comes in, right?
Exactly. It's basically a global alliance led by democratic nations to make sure AI is developed responsibly.
Okay, so like a global watchdog for AI, making sure it doesn't turn into some sci-fi nightmare.
Exactly. Amodei says this kind of global cooperation is key to avoiding an AI arms race. He believes we can steer AI towards a future that promotes peace and upholds human rights if we work together.
It's a big vision, for sure.
Yeah.
It feels like we're on the verge of something massive, something that could change everything. It's exciting and terrifying all at the same time. But even if we get past all these challenges, even if we use AI to solve all these huge problems, then what? What's the next big challenge for humanity?
That's the real question, isn't it? And honestly, it's a question without an easy answer, but I think that's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah, it's easy to get bogged down in the immediate worries, like job losses or algorithms going haywire. But Amadei wants us to think bigger, to really grapple with the full potential of this technology.
Totally. He thinks that once we solve things like disease and poverty, our focus could shift to things like climate change, exploring space, or even understanding consciousness itself.
Wow. It's a good reminder that AI is not the end of the story, just the beginning of a whole new chapter. But if we're going to write this chapter together, we need to be smart about it. We need to be aware of the risks, but also open to the possibilities.
I think that's the key takeaway here. And it's something Amodei really emphasizes, approaching AI with both a healthy dose of skepticism and a sense of wonder.
I love that. So with all that in mind, how do we even begin to prepare ourselves and future generations for this future with AI?
Amodei believes the most valuable skills in an AI-driven world will be things like adaptability, critical thinking, a genuine love of learning.
Because the one thing we know for sure is that things are going to keep changing.
Exactly. And probably faster than ever before.
All right, so to wrap this part up, we've covered the potential for AI to solve some of our biggest problems, but also the challenges in making sure it's used ethically. But there's still one big question on the table. If AI can potentially do so much, what does it even mean to be human in a world increasingly shaped by these intelligent machines?
And that brings us to the heart of Amodei's message, which we'll dive into right after the break.
Okay, so we're back and ready to dig into this big question about AI and what it means for us humans. If machines can be so amazing, what makes us special?
Right, it's the whole what does it mean to be human in the age of AI thing. It's a biggie.
For sure. So what's Amadeus' take on all of this?
Well, he's convinced that even if AI can do all this incredible stuff, some things will always be uniquely human.
You mean like things even the smartest AI can't replicate?
Exactly. Things like love, compassion, creativity, that deep down human need to connect and find meaning. Amodei says these qualities become even more important as AI gets more powerful.
So it's less about us trying to outsmart the machines and more about really leaning into what makes us human. How do we even do that in a world where tech is taking over everything?
Amodei's big on education, but not just like memorizing facts and figures. He's talking about teaching critical thinking, adaptability, emotional intelligence, the kind of stuff that helps us keep up with AI, but also like guide it in the right direction.
Yeah. So it's about making sure AI develops in a way that aligns with our values, our goals.
Exactly. We need to remember that while AI might process information faster, it's still our judgment, our empathy that'll determine how it's used. It's on us to use this technology to build a better future.
It's a good reminder that we're not just along for the ride when it comes to AI. We have a responsibility to shape how it unfolds.
Totally. Amadei's message is really about seeing AI not as a threat, but as a tool, and an incredibly powerful one at that. It's up to us to use it wisely.
It's a bit overwhelming, to be honest. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm feeling, I don't know, cautiously optimistic.
I think that's the right way to feel. Amadei acknowledges the risks, but also pushes us to imagine a future where AI tackles those massive problems humans have been struggling with forever.
Imagine a world where we're not afraid of some robot takeover, but where AI is helping us create a world that's healthier, more fulfilling, more meaningful for everyone.
Like Amadei says, it's about embracing the potential of machines of loving grace.
Now that's something worth striving for. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Amodei's vision of the future with AI. A huge thank you to our expert for walking us through all of this.
Happy to do it. These conversations are so important.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope this sparked some ideas and got you thinking about the role of AI in shaping the world around us. Keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep the conversation going. Until next time.